Shopping for fabric online can feel really confusing, which is why in this video, you're going to learn step by step what to look for and how to find the perfect fabric for your next sewing project. Hi, my name's Abby and I help absolute beginners start making clothes they love. And this video is actually part of a free event I put together called the Fabric Shopping Bootcamp. It's a place for you to get all of your fabric questions answered all in one place. And if you join the official event, you actually get a chance to win over $500 in sewing prizes. So if you'd like to learn more about the event, the link is in the description. Again, it's totally free. Now, let's jump into today's video with Indie Stitch and see how to buy fabric online step by step.
Hello. Welcome to Fabric Shopping Bootcamp. My name is Amber. I am the owner and founder of Indie Stitch. And today we are talking all about shopping for fabric online. This is a beginner's guide. So if you are new to sourcing fabric online due to some recent store closures, or if you just want to learn more, get a little bit more confidence before hitting that add to cart button, you are in the right place. My name is Amber, and I am the owner and founder of Indie Stitch. I started Indie Stitch because I know how hard it can be to find fabric, find all the little supplies you need for your project, especially when I had 3 little kids running around. So I created these sewing project kits, so everything gets delivered to your door. You can just sit and sew. So each box contains a curated pattern and fabric. We include all the notions, the fabric that you get to choose. We host monthly sew-alongs for the project, have video tutorials for the project, and the best part, we have a sewing community that is sewing the project with you. So if you have questions or need someone to cheer you on, there's people there creating the project the same time as you. So we're really quick to answer questions to get your project looking amazing. Okay, so what is this video all about? What are we covering? We're going to cover some fabric basics, how to shop online without confusion. We're going to match fabric with a pattern, go through a real world example. And then I have some tips from Indie Stitch members on what they do when they source their fabric. All right, let's start with the basics, because understanding the basics of fabric makes shopping for online so much easier. So the very basic, woven versus knit. So we have a woven fabrics. As you can see here, they are perpendicular to each other. They are a weave, where knit is more of a loop. Woven is structured. There's no stretch to it. They maintain their shape. So it's really good for like pants, jackets, or even dresses that just need a little bit more structure. Some common fabrics are quilting, poplins, linens. Flannel is usually a good woven. For knits, they're naturally stretchy. They're great for everyday wear, comfortable. Some examples for these is your double brush polys, your jerseys, interlock, ITY, rib knits, etc. So here is a list of 10 fabric properties that are good to know when you are sourcing fabric online. I'm just going to break them down really quick, one by one. You don't have to know all these. Just kind of get a good idea of what they are, and I'll give you my top 3 to look for later on. But first we'll start with drape. How does the fabric lay? Is it flowy? Is it stiff? Is it gonna hug your body, or is it gonna like stick out away from your body? Weight is how heavy it is. Is it thin like a thin t-shirt, or is it heavy like a denim? Your stretch. So this is important for knit fabrics. Do you have stretch horizontally and vertically, just horizontally, or is it more like a woven where there isn't going to be much stretch to it at all? Texture, this is if it is a smooth fabric, it has a nap to it, is ribbed, crinkle. And next we're looking at to see how opaque it is. Is it see-through, or is it completely opaque where no light comes through? Recovery is important with knit fabrics. When you stretch the fabric, does it come back to the normal shape, or does it kind of hang and sag a little bit? So recovery is important. wrinkle resistance. So if this is a pair of pants or a shirt and you're sitting, is it going to be super wrinkly when you get up? Or is it going to lay nicer when you get up? The sheen of the fabric is going to be matte versus a shiny or silky finish. Breathability, how well does it let air through? These will be more of your natural fibers, great for hot weather, your linens, cottons, bamboo, those type of fabrics. And care instructions are important. You don't want to spend all your time making this beautiful pair of pants only to find out they're dry clean only and you are a dump everything in the washer all at once and hit cold water type person. So make sure that you look at those care instructions before you purchase the fabric to make sure that the fabric will work for your lifestyle. Okay, we're gonna go a little bit more into weight. This is the main thing that I look at when sourcing fabrics online. So you'll usually see this listed as grams per square meter. And that's because most of the fabrics are manufactured overseas and that is their measurement system. A lot of cotton spandexes are listed in ounces. There's an easy conversion I will share with you. But to give you a rough idea on weight, so anything less than 120 is very lightweight, and it goes all the way up to like 350 grams per square meter. And that's going to be your heavyweight. Your denim, your twill, heavier knits for leggings, sweatshirts is going to be closer to the 250 mark. And then midweight is the 120 to 250. All right, now we're going to talk drape. How the fabric will be on your body is very important when looking at apparel fabric. So some patterns, you want it to drape a lot. You want it to hug, you want it to gather and flow nicely. And some you don't, like a pair of denim jeans. You don't want those to drape. You want those to be a little bit more stiff. So you got to watch for that when sourcing your fabric. And we'll go through some pictures on what a drapey fabric looks like and what a stiff fabric looks like in photos. And then recovery is important as well because you don't want to get a fabric only for it not to bounce back. This matters a lot with knits and fitted garments. You might find a fabric that's super stretchy and soft, but it won't work well when creating the neckbands because the neckband, once you pop it over your head, you want it to come back in. So a good example and where I see this is interlock knits. So when I was sewing for little babies, Joann's always had their 100% cotton interlock. Super soft, super cute prints, but they never worked for the bands or the cuffs because there was no recovery. They would just sag or the knees would get really stretched out. They wouldn't come back. So that's why having some kind of spandex in your knits is important for that recovery. All right, so now that we've talked about our fabric properties, now we're going to talk about how to shop online without confusion. Because I know when you are looking at the listings, it can be a lot. Sometimes there's a ton of information, and sometimes it's only like a sentence or two, and it doesn't give you a ton of information. So we're going to go through a listing that has a lot of information and kind of pull out what is important in the listing when you are looking for fabric for your patterns. So this is from Mood. This is a fabric listing that's current right now from mood.com. And it is a stretch modal jersey. It is in this animal print. A modal is a kind of rayon. And it says it's dead stock. So dead stock means that they're not actively printing and manufacturing it. Once they run out of stock, they don't have a way to replace that stock. So if you are looking for something to buy again and again, this would not be an option for you. But if you just need a few yards for your own personal garments, then this would be great. So here's the fiber content. This is what makes up the fabric. So it's 93% modal, 7% spandex, so you know it's going to have great recovery. The weight is 167 grams per square meter. So in our chart, that was right there at that mid-weight. So great for blouses, dresses, shirts, heavier t-shirts. And we have our width. So most knit fabrics are going to come between 58 and 60 inches long. So when you buy a yard of fabric, you're going to get 36 inches by 62 inches. A lot of quilting cottons would be like 45 inches, but knit is usually a bit longer. And we have our stretch. This is an all-way stretch, a 4-way stretch. That means it has stretch vertically and horizontally. And our care instructions here. It says dry clean is usually preferable, but it can be hand washed or machine washed. So this might be a good option to buy a half yard or buy a small quantity, get a sample and wash it and see what happens. And then you kind of know if it's going to fit your lifestyle. All right, our next fabric listing. This one is from Raspberry Creek Fabrics. So they don't have as much information in it, but a lot of the key stuff is there. So they have the fabric type here. It is a jacquard double knit. The fiber content, 96 poly, 4% spandex, 58 inches wide. The weight, medium to heavy, has the grams per square meter there. But then when you go to the stretch, you might see the contents and be like, well, it has 4% spandex. It must have great stretch. But this stretch is only 40% across the grain, so horizontal stretch, and then only a slight mechanical stretch with the grain. So it doesn't stretch hardly at all vertically. Mechanical stretch is just kind of a little bit, just like the fabric fibers are moving just a little bit, but the 40% stretch. And that might work really well for pants that only require a 2-way stretch. But if your pants require a 4-way stretch, they're not gonna maybe go over your booty when you pull them up because they don't have that extra vertical stretch there. And also something else I want to point out on this listing is that their pricing is sold by half yard quantities. So before you make a purchase, look for that. Some fabric sites do only sell in half yard quantities. So if you buy a 3, you're getting 1.5 yards on this website. But on Mood, if you buy 3, you're getting 3 yards. So just something to watch out for. Okay, now we're going to look at these fabric photos and kind of look to see how they drape. So this side is great drape, a lot of drape. This side is not so much drape. So you're going to look at the areas between the swirl. Most fabric stores include this swirl in one of their product listings. So I always look for the pooling between the major lines. So on these, you can see where these major lines are. There's not a whole lot of pooling. There's just straight fabric. But on these, there's some pooling going on between the two. And so also you can look at the inside of the swirl. If it gathers up pretty well, then you're going to have more drape. Where it's more of you can like see the exact spiral the fabric's taking, that would be less drape. Also, some fabric makers or fabric sellers will include a hand or a mannequin with the fabric draped on it, so then you can see the drape. This is from Mood here. So this is that leopard modal spandex, and you can see how it's falling straight down over that shoulder. It's going straight down. Where this, I believe, is a cotton lawn, and it does not have as much drape because you can see they kind of folded it over the body to create those folds there. It's not hanging, it's just kind of set there. So that shows me that it doesn't have a lot of drape. Plus on this side, it's coming straight down off of the mannequin, where this side, it's kind of going out a little bit. Another thing to look for in fabric photos is look for prints that use a prop for their scale. So here is some art gallery print. We used a tape measure so you could see just how small those triangles are, because sometimes those could be really big triangles. And then when you get it, you're like, holy cow, I didn't know the print was that big. You thought they were little when you saw the picture, or the other way around. You might have wanted big, but it ends up being really small. And also in the age of filters, look out for filtered photos in the product listing. Here's an example here. I filtered these. So this was a fabric we had featured in one of our kits. And as you can see, there's no scale to it. And also I these are not actual photos of the fabric. I just changed the photo with filters to make it look like there were 3 different colorways. So if you bought this thinking that that was the green you were getting, it might not be like that once you get the fabric in hand. But on the topic of colors, if you are looking for a specific color and you find it, it might be best to look at that fabric listing on a different monitor, your phone or a computer, because monitors can change the look of fabric. So it might look a little more yellow on one monitor, a little more blue on another monitor. So if fabric color is very important, check it out on different monitors and kind of see what, make sure that it is what you are looking for. All right, let's talk about red flags and green flags when it comes to pattern or fabric stores. So when you have a green flag fabric store, you have a clear listing of the fiber content and weight and the stretch, multiple photos, including drape, scale shots. If there's a video of the fabric or modeled shots or reviews of somebody who made something with that fabric, that's like a bonus. That makes it so much easier. Look for those descriptive terms: flowy, structured, great stretch, great recovery. A lot of fabric listings will say this fabric would be great for flowy tops and dresses, or this fabric would be great for pants or skirts or structured jackets, etc. So that's kind of what you look for in a fabric store. Some red flags. So if you have a favorite fabric store that has these, it's okay, but just make sure you trust your gut when you're ordering from them and make sure that it is a reputable place, and make sure that you are okay asking questions to the seller too. So you can always email them and be like, hey, this fabric is blank. Does it have this stretch or that stretch? Or are you sure it would be good for this? Or what's the weight on this? You could always ask them. So avoid vague descriptions like has a nice feel or great for everything. Only one photo is kind of a red flag, especially if it's just a nicely folded square on a white background. That doesn't tell you a lot about the fabric. If there's no info on the weight or the stretch, there's no fiber content. And now, unless you are purchasing dead stock, sometimes that fabric, it's dead stock. They sourced it from somebody secondhand, and while it's great to buy dead stock because it keeps it from the landfill, sometimes the fabric contents might be unknown there. So if it's dead stock, it kind of gets a pass when it comes to fiber content. Also, if there are listings with no reviews, that might be something to avoid when you're a beginner. And then I also put mystery bundles on here if you're still learning. So we sell mystery bundles of fabric. People love them, but a lot of them don't include the fabric type, the contents, the weight. They just give you the fabric, which is great to get a sensory feel of all of them. But when you're trying to learn about new fabrics and become smarter in your fabric shopping online, mystery bundles are probably not the way to go. Okay, so now we're going to match the pattern requirements to the fabric online. So this is the Algarve top from Itch to Stitch. This is one that we are currently making this month for Indie Stitch boxes. And we have some light drapey fabrics in the description. So the primary fabrics they want us to use are some rayon, viscose, bamboo jerseys, lightweight French terry, double brush poly, ITY. It has a 50% four-way stretch is important. So these keywords we are getting from the pattern instructions, and these keywords are what we're going to use to find the fabric. So here is one that I found on Etsy. I have not bought this fabric before. So if you choose to use this seller, they look like they're good. So, I mean, I've never used them though. But here is what this will work perfect. So we have the drapiness. We can tell by looking at this skirt here. These are some some purchaser reviews. So they have bought the fabric and they made, it looks like a little cute loungewear set for a baby, a dress, and then this is just the fabric. But it is drapey from the looks of the fabric. It is a lightweight knit. It is a bamboo jersey, and it does have the stretch listed, but all I did was go to Etsy and I just searched jersey knit fabrics bamboo, and this was one of the listings that came up. Here's another one from Kelly Fabrics. This doesn't have as much information, but it has enough for us to figure it out. So it is a double brush poly, that's a DBP there. It is a lighter weight, has the GSM. It does not have the GSM, it just has light midweight. It has spandex in it, and it has a 4-way stretch at 100%. So this fabric would work as well from Kelly Fabrics. This is always a big question we get when we're looking for fabric online is how much should I buy? It's best to look at your fabric chart. This one, it looks like to bake the largest size, it's 2.5 yards of fabric, which is what we're including in our kits. But if you are down here in a size 2, you might want to get 2.5 to 2 yards just to make sure you have enough. 1, the fabric could shrink when you wash it, or 2, you might mess up a little bit. You might cut something wrong. And so it's always nice to have that little bit of extra in there just in case. That way you don't have to buy the fabric again or go to buy it and then find out that it's not in stock anymore. If you don't have a project in mind, I recommend 3 yards. It's suitable for most projects. 2 yards is enough for most knit tops. 3 yards is good for pants and dresses. If you think you might be making like a maxi dress with long sleeves, 4 yards would be the way to go, but I don't make a lot of those, so 3 yards is usually my go-to for my projects. Okay, now we're going to get into some member tips. I wanted to share some advice we have from our members in the community. I asked them, what is your top tip when shopping for fabric online? Our first tip here, Jody, she recommends making a notebook or a binder with fabric samples and their fiber content so you have your own catalog of the fabric that you have used and how it worked for you. Randy says that weight really matters. She's bought the same content of fabric, but found out that the different weights can leave you with an entirely different fabric. Angela wants samples and swatches, so she recommends you buy the little pieces before you buy the big one. Getting a sample is one of the best ways to avoid surprises when fabric shopping. And Glenda kind of did the mix of all three. Get familiar with the weight of the fabric. Look for shops that offer the swatches, label your fabrics when you get them, and pre-wash them so they are ready to sew when you are ready. And before we wrap up, let's just kind of go over what we talked about today. And even if you only remember a couple of these things, you will be ahead of where you started at the beginning of this video. So the first thing is the difference between knit and woven fabrics. And then we talked about things like weight, drape, stretch, recovery, and how they all play a part in your final project. And these are the 3 things that I always look for when looking for fabric. So I look for the weight, the drape, and the recovery. And then we looked at how to read and evaluate fabric online. We looked at the fiber content, weight, stretch percentage, and how to skip listings that are maybe not, that don't have that information. And then we took a pattern and we found fabric for it. We looked at the fabric description in the pattern and kind of matched it to fabric samples online. And then we looked for the red flags and the green flags in fabric shops. Kind of the more info they have, the better. And then we got some real life advice from our members, kind of sharing that the same thing we've been talking about, the weight, get swatches, wash your fabric, keep a record. Those are the big things that they recommended. And based off their recommendations, I created a guide, your personal fabric log, and the GSM guide. So this will include basically what you see here in this photo, just a place where you can cut samples of your fabric, and then you can list the information about it. So then when you go to look for fabric for your projects in the future, you have a record of what a poly spandex feels like, what a rayon spandex feels like, what a quilting cotton looks like versus a twill cotton. And it's just kind of a good hands-on record for you as you build your fabric stash. And you can scan that QR code there to download it, or go to indiestitch.com/fabric-swatch/PDF. That also includes the fabric weight cheat sheet. And this cheat sheet shares the different ranges, the classification of the fabric, lightweight, midweight, heavyweight, and then what the weights are best used for. And if you are interested in Indie Stitch, check us out. Go to indiestitch.com. We would love to have you. So hopefully this helps with all your fabric shopping. And if you have any questions at all, feel free to post them in the comments. I'll be monitoring the comments when this video comes out, and hopefully we can get those questions answered for you quickly. Thank you so much for being with me today, and I wish you all the successful fabric shopping trips in the future, and happy sewing.
Thank you, Indie Stitch, for such an information-packed video. Oh my gosh, I want to hear from you now. What was the biggest tip that you learned about buying fabric online? Let me know down in the description what was a game changer for you, and do you feel excited to actually buy fabric online now? I know I do. And if you don't yet, that's totally fine, but let me know what questions you still have down below so I can answer them for you in a future video. Now, as this video is wrapping up, don't forget this video is part of an entire series to help you make confident fabric decisions. And tomorrow's video is actually about the 3 best fabrics you should be using as beginners. So if you don't want to miss anything, then be sure to hit the subscribe button below along with the bell so you'll be notified as soon as the next video drops. And if you can't wait for more sewing content, I'm going to link the entire playlist here so you can catch up on any days you might have missed. Happy sewing!